I mean, there's so many moving parts and pieces in real estate that you have to have like an operational bent to it to keep it all organized.
I feel like I have that perfect blend of operational strength, sales strength, and customer service.
You have to make a decision. Who am I going to spend the time with? The one that's trying or the one that is leaving, potential on the table?
While I want to invest a lot of time and energy into somebody, I also know that there is a good chance at some point that person will disappear.
The fact that we were able to walk out with a win, again, testament to you and your team. You guys did a great job on the marketing side.
Yeah, we appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah. Hey everybody, welcome back to Revive and Reveal, the show where we pull back the curtain on all those pretty Instagram photos that you see online to tell the real story behind some of the transformations that everybody loves looking at. So I'm Brian Daly, founder of WeRevive. I've flipped over 600 homes here in Southern California since 2010. Every one of these projects has a story and lessons to learn, especially today's projects. So some are a little crazier than others. And today I'm joined by Mike Blair. He is one of the sharpest agents in San Diego and a longtime partner of ours. So together we're digging into a project that we did together in La Mesa on 6288 Broadmore Drive. This one had it all. Really loved this property when we first found it. A huge lot, mature trees, an ADU, a pool, and a lot of potential. But along with all that came some baggage. It was a hoarder house, and I think in like the second week we started our construction, we got hit with the code violation. So there's a lot of good lessons in here, and again, this is kind of the whole point of the show. It's not just to show the wins, but also the challenges, because oftentimes when you see those after photos, you don't get the story. You might look like a win just by looking at the photos, but they're not always a win. So anyway, before we dive into all that madness that is Broadmore, let's learn a little bit about Mike. So, Mike, we've known each other for a little while, but we were just talking about it before. I don't know a lot of the answers to some of these questions, so I'm kind of excited. So how and when did you get started in real estate?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I got recruited into real estate technically.
Okay.
So a good friend of mine, his name is Anthony Manzon. I don't know if you know Anthony.
I recognize that name, yeah.
But he and his wife, we had become good friends early on, and they reached out to me one day, and they were like, "Hey, Mike, do you know anybody that might be interested in joining our team to help us grow our real estate company?"
It's a good way to recruit.
And at that time, I was actually owning another company, but I was actually looking for a different opportunity at the same time. And so my first day was August 1st, 2017.
Okay.
And my first day of real estate was actually Bold training, which was at Keller Williams at the time.
Huh.
And so they put me straight, like day one, I was in a training.
Okay.
And so I grew up in real estate around training with Keller Williams.
Okay, all right.
So that was my start. I was a director of sales and operations for their team.
Oh, wow. Okay, quick.
Yeah.
All right, so let's take a step back, though. You said you owned a business beforehand. Like, what was that business, and what led you to that business?
Yeah, so that particular business was in branding and apparel.
Okay.
Prior to that, I had a corporate job in apparel.
Okay.
So I was doing like uniforms and sports apparel and corporate apparel.
Okay.
Anything from like screen printing, embroidery, like custom branding and things like that.
Have you found any of that experience apply to what you do and how you do real estate now?
Yeah, for sure. So in that world, I was strong on the operational side of things, right? A lot of inventory, a lot of project management, a lot of volume. And so all of that translated into real estate for me when I got started.
Okay.
Also the sales component of it. So that's why I was really strong in sales and operations. I would sell big accounts on apparel. And so I was used to talking to higher level people. And so I wasn't nervous or timid or scared.
That's a good mix of combo in this world, because I mean, there's so many moving parts and pieces in real estate that you have to have like an operational bent to it to keep it all organized. But obviously, it's 90% sales. Otherwise, you don't have the chance to do operations. So.
Yeah. And then along kind of in between being in the apparel world and coming into real estate, I actually did own a couple restaurants. So I owned 2 restaurants in between, which really taught me like the customer service side. So I feel like I have that perfect blend of operational strength, sales strength, and customer service.
I want to ask like a ton of questions about the restaurant. I bet you that would be a podcast in and of itself.
Sure.
So we'll hold on. But all right, so 2007 or 17, sorry. First day, August 1st. You know
August
the
1st, yeah.
the date.
I know the date.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Walk us through your journey from that point forward. Like, how did you? 2017 was, it was still kind of on the upswing. How was your progression through that time?
So I stayed with that team from 2017 till early 2020.
Okay.
So for about 3 years, I was a director of sales and operations, and so I focused on developing tools and systems, training and recruiting, and just bringing in more talent to be able to execute and grow the company.
Nice.
We quickly became the #1 team in the Keller Williams office in Chula Vista that we were in, and then we moved to the Keller Williams Metro office, and then that same year we became the #1 team in that office.
Nice.
So I learned real estate pretty quickly being in that role because I got to see and spend time with a lot of top agents. And then I give a lot of credit to Anthony because I was one of the only people I spent every day with Anthony.
Really?
He would make calls, he would prospect, go on appointments, we'd prepare his packets, and I knew the real estate sales business without being a real estate salesperson because I spent every day next to Anthony.
Okay, so when did you transit? So 2020, what was that transition like?
Yeah, so I didn't get my license until late 2019.
Dang.
Because I didn't need it for the role that I was in.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I couldn't compete with my team anyway, so it wasn't really a necessity. I didn't actually have an interest in becoming an agent, believe it or not. But things change, and so in 2020, that team, they moved brokerages, and so I didn't come with them. They were kind of going to continue down a different path, different model, and it wasn't the same as what we were building at Keller Williams. And so because of that, I started to explore other options. Fortunately, I had been on a top team, and people knew me because of my association with that team and with Anthony. And so I had interviewed with a lot of other top teams, and some other ones wanted to pull me in as their director of sales and operations. But ultimately, I reached out to my buddy Miguel, and Miguel and I went to high school together, and Miguel was doing a lot of volume, and I was curious about why he was doing so much volume.
Yeah, nice.
And he mentioned to me that they were flipping houses.
Oh, okay.
And so I ended up interviewing with Miguel. I started selling some houses for them that they were flipping. It was him and a company. And so I got into that company selling some houses. Again, I barely licensed, but again, I knew this business in and out.
Yeah.
So then I started selling some of their real estate.
And when you're selling flips too, it is very operational. So you probably crushed it at that. I mean, you're not doing a lot of selling at that point. So even though it sounds like you crushed it at that too, but that's really cool. So so in 2020.
So that was 2020. Yeah, around April, May-ish 2020, I started transitioning and selling real estate for them. And then I was pretty good right out of the gate. And so I quickly grew within that company and ultimately sold a lot of real estate for them.
And so now though you're the Mike Blair team.
Yeah.
So are you still affiliated with that
I am not. So I spent about 3 years there as well. So 3 years with the Keller Williams team.
That's good.
3 years on the investor side of the business.
That's a long time in real estate.
Yeah.
I noticed. I mean, I see a lot of agents move a lot.
Yeah. So I never really wanted to move anywhere.
Yeah.
But the dynamics of the business, right, caused some changes. So in 2023, I moved out of the real estate investor kind of space with that company because 2022 was a rough year. So a lot of changes, different dynamics. You probably experienced that. So 2023, I had to really figure out, okay, what do I want to do next, right? So knowing my real estate background as an agent and a team leader, and then knowing my business background as an investor and working the investor side, I kind of just started over in 2023.
Okay.
So I launched a new team. It was me and a couple agents that I already knew.
Nice.
And then I started the brokerage team side because for me it was the easiest transition, right? I already had a track record. I already knew how to sell real estate. A lot of agents already knew me. Some agents wanted to work with me. So I just kind of launched that team. And from 2023 till now, we grew to over 20 agents.
That's awesome. Now, I know part of that growth, and our team talks about it often internally. I don't know if you know that, but you do events.
Yeah.
So when did you start the events, and what are the events all about?
Yeah, I would say about almost 3 years ago, we launched a pretty big event. So kind of we started with one banger.
Okay, what was that?
It was me and my buddy LJ. So LJ is an agent on my team and also an investor.
Okay.
And so LJ had been in like the real estate investment space as well with other like mentorship and other things. So we knew some of the same people.
Yeah.
So he and we threw a big event together back in October 2023.
Okay.
And that event, we actually had like 350 people come.
Dang.
We had Ryan Pineda come speak at the event.
Oh,
I
nice.
had my coach Kent Clothier come speak at the event, which he never speaks anywhere.
You know,
for that.
I just met Kent.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, we signed up for Boardroom. Are you
Oh,
part
awesome.
of it?
Yeah. So I'm in Boardroom as well.
Okay, yeah.
So those like that kind of kick-started the event side of things because we put
350.
300 something people in one room.
That's a massive event.
And then just to add value, it was free.
Nice.
We had sponsors cover the event. It was really just to connect and network and add value
It's a heck of a way to
people
kick
in our
off
industry.
a new
Yeah.
team.
And then after that, we kind of started rolling. Me and a couple others, so me and LJ, and then 3 other guys. We started doing a monthly event.
Yeah.
We call it Margarita and Mingle. It's just completely generic, but it's mostly for real estate investors, real estate agents, and then other entrepreneurs. And so,
And you do that every month?
yeah, we do it every month. Last Thursday, we do it at the Hideaway in Pacific Beach. And that event, I would say, anywhere from 50 to 150 people come every.
I know
every month.
Michelle talks about it.
Yeah, Michelle comes up.
I mean, she got us going back into. We do now our house party event.
Yeah,
we just
yeah.
had 2 in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But it's good to get out there face to face. It's easier when you control the event and
For sure.
But that's awesome, man. Well, I went on a tangent. So there's 2 questions I like to ask. It's for someone who's been in the real estate market through some ups and downs, which you've been since 2017. So there've been some ups and some downs. So what is it that you love the most about what you do, real estate?
Yeah, ultimately for me, I really like working the investor side of the business. So clients like you is my bread and butter because for me, it's an interesting game, right? For me, it's just the game. At the end of the day, I like playing the game. And so I like analyzing deals, walking houses, trying to figure out how to make that puzzle work for the investor, for me, for the end user.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different components there.
Yeah.
So I personally like working that side of the business.
I'm with you. It's analytical, but at the same time creative.
Yeah.
I'm aligned. That's also my favorite part. So okay, what's the hardest part, or what do you hate? There's got to be. What do you like the least? How about that?
Yeah, I would say I enjoy the business overall. Like I choose to be in the business, right?
Yeah.
So like every day it's a choice to run the team and be in the business. I would say the challenging parts of it is the people, right? At the end of the day, and I like the people, but it's also like really finding that special place to where that person is motivated enough to take action. And so people development is what I enjoy, but it's also
It's
like
so
the killer,
frustrating.
right?
Oh, man.
Because sometimes, obviously, you have a big team as well. You spend a lot of time and energy with somebody, trying to pour into them, trying to help them. And sometimes you want it more for them than
That's exactly
they want it for themselves.
The words that were going on in the back of my head. Like,
and that's the challenge
it's
for me.
hard as a leader to go through that. Like you see the potential, and then you want it more sometimes than other people want it, and it only comes through. I've heard it through multiple different sources, but it really only came to me through experience. Like eventually, you just have to kind of separate yourself. Be like, I can't put in more effort to build you up than you're going to put in to build you up, and so you got to just step back and either release them back to the wild, or just if they're in charge of their own destiny in a sales role, then you just kind of have to let them achieve what they achieve and not invest too much, which is really unfortunate.
It's tough. Yeah, like I've been trained now to look at everybody like, let's say you were going to jump onto my team, Brian. I would look at you like you're going to be the next best thing, and I would treat you like you're going to be the next #1 agent in the world. And at the same time, if you leave, next person, right? Like you have to almost look at everybody like that, because at any given moment, somebody could get taken out of the game. And so while I want to invest a lot of time and energy into somebody, I also know that there is a good chance at some point that person will disappear.
Well, and you have 20 agents. I mean, we've got 25 on our team. There's only so much time in the day. Like as you get bigger, naturally you have to kind of protect your time. And sometimes that means the people that you see putting out the extra effort, you give them more time, and the people that you see not putting in that extra effort, you kind of have to not ignore them, but you have to make a decision. Who am I going to spend the time with? The one that's trying, or the one that is leaving potential on the table? So anyway, great conversation. So let's we dove into kind of your background. You brought this property to us that we're going to talk about today. Let's go transfer over to the ESPN big screen style and
let's go play by play and see what's up.
All right. So this is 6288 Broadmore. This is what it looked like after we were all done with it. But this project came to WeRevive through Mike, but it wasn't your listing. It was a friend of yours. So how did it land in your lap?
Yeah, so I had done some consulting with a couple other investors. Yep. And so one of the investors that I was working with, they had brought this deal to me, and they asked me if I knew anybody that would want to take this one on. Mainly because this one was a unique property, like we're going to talk about today. Yeah. It had different components. It had a lot of work that needed to be done, and not your average investor would have taken this on. And so you guys were the first ones that I thought of. So you guys came in, and then obviously the rest is history, and we're going to talk about it today.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you bringing us in. It was a big project. So let's get into what it looked like beforehand. So that is the front. I think that's Alex Uray. He's our director of asset management. But yeah, that didn't look as pretty in the front, so we had to redo that whole driveway. This is like that extra shed that they added to the back. It was attached to the house. Structurally, the house was solid, but everything else was just really gross. And I remember it did not smell great in here either. This is kind of funny. This was so I'll see if we have a better picture of it. Nope, I guess not. I thought we did. So that right there on this one right here, that's the master. They had like this whole mirrored setup above their kinky master bedroom setup. This was a fun house. But the house itself, or the lot itself, it's so much potential.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I think I mentioned earlier. I fell in love with the idea and the potential of this house because it was almost an acre of land. The main house was a 3-3. It had an ADU. What we found out was unpermitted, unfortunately. But like a studio ADU, it was some of the finishes were poorly added to it. And there you go. So they started doing the kitchen. I think they ran out of money, but it's so much potential. It had this ADU. It was in a good spot where it was usable as either extra generational family living, or you can rent it out because there was a side entrance to it. But there was so much junk in this house. So definitely had a ton of potential, and it was hard to value because the lot was so much bigger than all the comps, and it had the pool. It had an ADU. Comps didn't have an ADU. So I remember it was tough to value coming into it.
Yeah, it was one of those weird ones because if you could see in the photos, the house itself on tax record was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, but the layout was actually 2 bedrooms.
Yep.
And so it was kind of a funky layout with the 2 bedrooms kind of conversion. And then, the ADU and the pool with the big lot and the big driveway. So it was like these weird pros and cons to it that made it a little bit more interesting to find comparables for.
Yeah, we had a good plan going into it. So what he was talking about is that there was 2 bedrooms at the end of the hallway where that master bedroom with the mirrors I showed you earlier. They took out the wall in between those 2 bedrooms and just made like this one big master. But it was really easy fix to put it back, and it made sense. But I remember I had notes about this. There was the wholesaler in this case. It was a wholesaler. They wanted $775. We got as high as we could. We ended up at $770, so pretty dang close. Do you remember the negotiations at all? Like how we landed at that?
It was briefly, just because I wasn't too involved with it. There was literally a price. That's what they needed to get it at, and it was we were $5,000 off, and we just pushed it through.
Yeah.
So it was fairly straightforward because I think they knew that it was going to take a lot of work, and so if they were to take it down, they would probably run out of money.
Yeah.
Kind of rehabbing it. So
I remember there was like 4 or 5 people coming through there, so we had to end up being the highest offer. It wasn't like they did us any favors in this case, but I think they were asking for $775, and we were able to do just $5,000 less than that, so pretty close. So let's see here. I think that covers most of the acquisition. I wish I had the photo of the. I think I have it later, I guess.
Okay.
Of the room, but you look at the photos and it doesn't look terrible. It's mostly cosmetic here, but there was some. In order to get a proper layout to the kitchen, to that master, there was some structural stuff that we had to do in just opening up walls, which we always try to do. So let's move on to the reno.
Okay.
This is kind of shows you the state of the amount of trash. I asked my team how like what stood out to you about this project. The number one thing they said is 11 full dumpsters of junk between.
My gosh.
Some of the pictures don't do it justice because in all the shed and the outside, the garage was floor to ceiling, and just the amount of junk in the backyard and around
there was a ton. There was an extra shed I think you guys got rid of, and then in the back behind where the pool was, up in the upper areas, I mean, there was cars and tires and like all kinds of random stuff. I don't know how much of that was actually taken out by the previous owner, but I know when I walked it, there was a bunch of other stuff up there. I mean,
that was a big portion of our budget here was trash. So we had a really good plan. We felt like we could get this moving pretty quickly. We always try to, before we close, we always try to have exactly what we want to do settled so we can start day one.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, so in that we had a projected rental time of a total of 86 days. So we go down to the days in our projections. I think in day 5, this is the state of where we got to. When we got this from the city of La Mesa. This is a code violation notice. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this property, because I get, especially when the market gets tighter or more competitive, we get pushback of like, why can't you offer more? Mm-hmm. And, when we're analyzing properties, we're trying to analyze them as if everything's going to go right. But we have to have a margin of error, and sometimes that means we have to get more conservative on timelines or the ARV that we're going to sell it for this exact reason, because this is a real big pain in the ass. I mean, we estimated 86 days of hold time during our renovation. That's 86 days of paying a loan. That's how much we estimated that it was going to take before we got back in the market. This code violation made that to 370 days. Jeez. I mean, that is, if you imagine on a house like this, your annual pay or your monthly payments are about $10,000. That's a year. That's $120,000 compared to what we thought was going to be $30,000 of holding expenses. But this is why, we can't, like buyers that are doing this, and I stress if you're newer to this, like you can't push it all the time to the very max, because there's a lot of things that can go wrong that if you don't have your margins for, you're going to get eaten up quick. So that's where we got a week into it, and we got a stop work notice. We ended up having a neighbor across the street who had nothing better to do than sit on his front porch, and I think he was smoking cigarettes or cigars all day long and just watching the house. And so he called the city on us to get the violation, but then the entire project, the whole time, he probably called a dozen times to report something to the city. Eventually, the city told us, like, I don't know what this guy's problem is, but we're not giving him any more time of day.
Yeah.
You guys just got to get this project finished. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, 370 days. We had to do a full set of plans, and unfortunately, with code violations, every city is different. Sometimes they require just a set of plans. Sometimes they require a whole site plan, like they did here. Sometimes they don't require engineering. Sometimes they do require engineering, which we did have to do here. It turned out that the ADU that we thought was permitted was not permitted. So that you can see the main dwellings over here, and then the ADU, the studio ADU is over here. And it was well built. It was well built. So we just assumed it was permitted. It was our mistake. But that also added some extra time to the permitting process because we had to get that ADU approved. And then this is the back shed patio. We had really big plans for that. I don't know how good of I'll show you, I think, towards the end in the disposition photos of the marketing photos. This looks over the pool, so the pool's right here. And that shed was just perfectly set up to do like a cabana.
Yeah.
With one of those windows that swing open. So when we bought it, we had that all factored into our budget. But as soon as we got that code violation, our original budget of $150,000 ballooned to $255,859. So not only do we have like an extra $100,000 in holding expenses, we had an extra $100,000 in budget.
Wow.
So this was looking like it was going to be a disaster, but this is what the main dwelling looked like. And what we were talking about earlier, there was this wall right here was taken down originally, and so we built this back up with closets, a wall, and to make the third bedroom, and then this turned into our master down here. Here you go. There's the master. There's what it looked like when we cleared it all off. So you can see where the wall used to be. We kind of put it right back there. This is about what the property looked like for about 6 to 8 months. I remember you kept asking, you kept emailing. It's like, what?
You guys all right?
Like, what's happening? When are we listing this thing? We're like, yeah, man, we can't do anything. So this is what it looked like. I mentioned no structural, but it looked like we had a little bit. So eventually we got in. We were able to start doing our work again, and able to finish the demo, and then start opening it up like we wanted to. It was it's a pretty big job, as you can see here. We ripped out most everything. The layout of the kitchen was super small, and there was walls on walls on walls. So being able to open it up changed the feel of that whole house. One of the nice things about this, which we didn't talk about before, the previous owners invested really good money in those. Do you remember the windows?
The windows were good.
Windows were
good shape. Yeah.
Like really nice, high quality stuff that you normally see in like La Jolla type properties. Like the windows and sliders were really, really well done. Did I already? Oh yeah. Okay. So that code violation crushed us. And I already mentioned my buying margin is so dang important. A couple other things that cost a lot of money is the pool was huge. Anytime you have to rebuild, you basically have to redo the pool. Luckily, we're not pouring a new one, but the expenses to do pools always drive the budgets up. That was a big portion of the budget. But anyway, going back to it, this is what we ended up with after 370 days and $255,000. This is the front. I was telling Mike before we got into this, there was so many things I wanted to do to this house that we had to pull off because all of the additional code violation expenses really drove the budget up. But still really, really nice looking.
Oh yeah,
looking house.
The kitchen was amazing. The flow of the kitchen to the living room was just a ton of space. So you guys definitely crushed it on the renovation.
So yeah, there was about 4 walls between that back kitchen wall and that fireplace that all came out. That was a good chunk of that engineering that we ended up having to do. Luckily, we had enough space to do it all on the ceiling, so we didn't have the drop beam. You can see, you can see like a little return there. So that's holding up a beam going all the way across that room. Yeah, I mean. Luckily we were able to salvage some of the cabinets that they had in there because that would have cost a lot more money. They were so poorly installed previously, so we had to take them all down. We had to rearrange the whole layout. But this is that ADU kitchen, and it turned out nice. So this is one of the big selling points. It was a kind of a funky looking pool, like just a random oval. But I mean, you're in La Mesa, having a pool is legit. But this room right here had so much potential. I had about $15,000 in our original budget to open this up and put one of those windows that go up there and just make that a door, and then this would all have been a like bar outdoor kitchen. It would have been super rad. I mean, it still is cool and could be converted to that, but we couldn't finish it.
Yeah.
We just had to make a decision what to cut out at the end. Yeah, some of the landscaping and the hardscaping too. I was like, I don't know, you can see here, but just a hole in the concrete with a bunch of mulch.
You have to just throw some mulch down there. Yeah.
Sometimes, man. I mean, you want to do better. But you had the opportunity to sell this sucker after probably about like 8 months later than you thought. So what do you remember about the sale?
Yeah, I mean, obviously after the renovation, our team walked in there, and it was already staged by your guys' team, and the photos started to look good. So for us, we just execute on the listing side. So we did a mega open house. We had 20 or 30 groups come that first weekend. We had multiple offers come, and this is in a market to where you're not usually seeing multiple offers right out of the gate.
It was. I mean, most of our other listings were slow.
Yeah.
This one jumped off the.
So we really launched this thing and pushed it. Like we try to do with all listings. Direct mail campaign. We door knock the neighborhood. Mega open house. Try to push as many people in there.
That is a big difference. Like that. I mean, we get the opportunity to work with a lot of different agents and see what works and what doesn't work and who does what and how they do it. I as far as I can remember. A direct mail campaign has not been utilized by anyone I can think of. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, we do every listing at least 250 neighbors.
I mean, I think the mega open house play is something that we really try to push for, but unfortunately, it does take a lot of time, energy, and thought to like make it happen. And unfortunately, it doesn't happen the way you guys executed very often.
Because you have to time it out, right? So we do a combination of things. So the direct mail goes first, and then we door knock the neighborhood to invite the neighbors. And usually we can get to about 100, right? Because then it's a lot of neighbors to knock. But then we also run some online campaigns, so we geo-target that neighborhood.
That's brilliant.
Just to get exposure, so they know, hey, this is a unique house in our neighborhood. I want to go see it just to see it. And when we drive that much traffic in there, 20, 30 people come, a lot of them at the same time. And so it creates competition within the viewers and within the showings. And believe it or not, the person that bought the house came the first weekend to the open house.
That's good. That doesn't happen very often. But
we didn't represent them, but they did come, and they were on our list.
So, okay, a couple questions. Because I think there's so many freaking lessons in here for agents, for us, for a lot of people. But, okay, questions. How many leads, buyer or seller leads, were you able to generate off this one listing? Do you know off the top?
I would say probably about 8 or 10. Okay. Because a lot of people do have agents, right?
Yep.
And so of the 30 people that came, probably 8 or 10 were unrepresented.
8 or 10. I mean, that's off one listing, one open house, one push, strategic, intentional push, and 8 to 10 leads. Those are hard to come by from cold prospecting efforts. I mean, you could spend a lot of time cold calling and everything else.
Yeah, and that's why we push the open houses. Like as agents, that is the best free, quote unquote free. That's technically not free because we did spend money on marketing and things to drive that traffic, but the best free lead source, right? Because if you went to Google and you tried to buy 10 leads, what would that cost you? If you went to Zillow or Realtor.com,
what would it cost you? Do you know these days?
I would say it's $300 to $500 per lead on Google.
Yeah, I know like if you do seller marketing direct, it is up there. It's like $300 to $500.
Yeah, so I would just probably put it in that category, right?
Yeah. So 10 leads, $5,000. Yeah. And you did not spend $5,000 to do this.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, brilliant. And that mega open house, that the idea to drive urgency and scarcity, like to get a lot of people in at one time, to focus a lot of showings in at one time. If they have any interest in that property at all, they're going to start worrying about FOMO, and that's what actually drives them to create an offer.
For sure.
If they go and there's no one there, they don't have that.
Not as much urgency. Yeah. So yeah, it definitely helps.
That is and especially with flip properties, like that is the way to. Yeah. Because you have the ability they're vacant, you have the ability to get clean photos for marketing to build up interest, even if it's just looky-loos.
Yeah.
But those looky-loos, eventually, they turn into buyers and sellers.
Sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Anyway, so we kind of went through most of these already. Some of the numbers, this is where I was kind of talking about before. It's really important to have margin. We bought this with a projected resale price of 1.1.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we bought it, we saw the potential that it could go to 1.25.
Mm-hmm.
Like we saw it, but the market was softening. There was like one comp at 1.25. We're like, okay, that could be an outlier. We had like this idea of the 1.25 number, but we put it down to 1.1 because we felt like we're going to go into a softer market and we had to be careful.
Yeah.
Still ended up buying it, obviously. I mean, we only asked for $5,000 off what the wholesaler said, but we could have got crazy, right? And used that 1.25 number.
Yeah.
And offered way more, and if it was necessary. But we listed it though at 1.149. And then because of what you just talked about, all that urgency and whatnot, we ended up accepting an offer the first weekend at 1.22.
Yeah.
I mean, that was brilliant because that's the only reason we didn't lose our asset.
And I think like behind the scenes, right? It's easy to like we see flip houses. It's easy to see the numbers and like, oh, they made a killing.
Yeah.
And then it's easy to see the listing that, oh, okay, yeah, it sold for $70,000 above list price. But nobody knows what happened behind the scenes, right?
Yeah, you look at those numbers and
like, why would somebody pay $70,000 over list price?
And somebody was going to look at the tax rolls and say, okay, this flipper paid $770,000. Yeah. They sold it for 1.22. They had to make a killing. I'm like, no, like I'm going to go over the numbers here in a second. We did not make a killing, but I tried to write down challenges we had on the resale, but I couldn't think of any. I mean, like you said, like first weekend we had three really good offers. One of those offers was clearly stood out. There was I looked at our notes, $50,000 higher than the next offer.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're not watching and regretting that. Hopefully they're enjoying their house. But the one thing that we took away from this as a team is kind of lean into our gut. We knew that lot, and we knew the trees, like the mature trees, and the space that it provided was valuable. But we discounted it just because of the market we were going into. But we're now very intentional about if we find a property with that kind of potential that's unique and rare. It does seem to, from especially from some of our other recent sales, it seems to buck the trend of like the depreciating values right now because buyers look at that as like, I'm never going to find another thing like this. Mm-hmm. So they tend to hold up value pretty well.
Yeah.
Okay, so here are those numbers all next to each other. Purchase price $770, rental cost $255, and then some of the other. Again, it's the things that a lot of people just don't even consider or think about for other costs related to it. Our buying costs were $10,000. Our financing costs actually less than I was thinking it would have been. So I guess our payment was a little less than $10 a month, but $82,950. Bunch of other costs. Those are related to property taxes, which are a big chunk of money. Consulting costs before the permits and everything else. Our selling costs were $32,000. Buyer credits, we ended up at $8,000 when we combined a credit and termite. So we ended up at a final sales price of $122. After all of that, work, I think we ended up just about a year and a half total hold time, or a little bit less. Our JV investor, thankfully, was able to make a little bit of money.
He made money.
$13,000, and then we walked away with a whopping $16,000. Again, like if we had not been super conservative on that ARV, this could have been one of those disasters. So
for sure.
So, when we're picking and choosing, we're trying to do it right. But I mean, most properties that we get hit code violations with end up to be a pretty
negative,
pretty decent loss. Yeah. So the fact that we were able to walk out with a win, again, testament to you and your team. You guys did a great job on the marketing side.
Yeah, we appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah. So that is all we have today. That is 6288 Broadmore. I hope there were some lessons in there for you that you could take away, apply to your own business, and I will see you next time. Appreciate your time.
Yeah.
See you.